how can I help my child? I'm a stay-at-home mom. My job is this tiny thing right here. And, he looked at me and he's like, there's nothing you can do. You just have to sit and wait. And I'm not a wait and see person.
Yeah.
And you don't tell me I can't do something. Like, I'm just not, you tell me I can't do something and I'm like, watch me. Like, I will, go to the end of the earth, which is what I did. I started researching and reading, and everything that I was coming back to as far as like cold and flu prevention and treatment always came back to elderberry.
Welcome to the Heart of Fauquier podcast. We're here to highlight the stories of local business owners around the area because we believe that business owners are at the heart of any community. It's not just about bringing awareness to the businesses, but seeing the faces, hearing the stories, and learning the mindsets behind the success. Now let's join our host Austin, owner of Bedrosian Cleaning Services, with today's special guest.
Welcome to the Heart of Fauquier. Today's episode, I am here with Erin Mann, and we're going to talk about her business, Erin's Elderberries. So I'm super excited to talk with her about that. It's a little bit different of a business than I've interviewed so far. A lot of things have been service or restaurants, so it's pretty neat to have, like we're in her kitchen right now where all the magic happens. So this is going to be a lot of fun to hear about her story. But to get started, I do want to give you a quick update. I know a few episodes ago I told you we were going to have our online store for the Heart of Fauquier, and we're still in progress getting that done. It's just taking a little bit longer than I expected, but we're going to have cool things like the shirts. Here's a new mug that came in with the Fauquier, Virginia, and on the back it's pronounced Fauquier. So fun stuff like that. We're going to have lots of things available for you. So just continue to stay patient and we'll update you as soon as everything's available. But let's just jump into this interview then. So Erin, if you could give a little quick summary on who you are and the business that you own.
Well, hi everyone. My name is Erin Mann, and I'm located here in Warrenton, Virginia. And my business is Erin's Elderberries. I hand make elderberry aronia syrup, jellies. I have local raw honey, elderberry syrup kits to where you can learn how to make it yourself, so I don't have to make it for you, and you save some money. And just a bunch of other little healthy things that I've learned about along the way in this crazy ride of a business. Yeah,
very cool. And I know I've seen you at a lot of farmers markets,
yes.
A lot of pop-ups everywhere in the county and Prince William and everything.
Yes, so I try to be as many places as I can because that lets people know about us. But I started off at the Warrenton Farmers Market and then went to the Manassas Farmers Market as well the first year that I was in business. And now we do the Haymarket Farmers Market on Sundays. It's back up and running after COVID. Lockdown last year, they weren't able to have it. So we're very fortunate that that's going again. And we also just visit some local markets such as Archwood at the Plains, Gilbert's Corner on some Saturdays. So we just try to go around and meet new people and say hello and introduce them to the products.
Okay, very cool. Yeah. And I mean, it's working. I think you guys have grown a lot from what I can tell.
Yes, we have. When I first started, it was just me, and all I wanted to do was go to the farmer's market 2 weekends a month and get away from my child. Being a stay-at-home mom with a young one, you crave that adult interaction, and you're like, I want to have a talk that's not about bottles or diapers or what size my child is wearing in clothes now. I want to have real life conversations. So my husband agreed at the time that it would be great for him and Lucas to have some one-on-one time, but then also for me to get out and do this. And the first season that I was at the Warrenton Market, I actually shared my tent with another small business because we couldn't afford the full fee. So we actually asked the Warrenton Market, we were like, is there any way you would let us share a tent? That way we can, split the cost, we can help each other, bathroom breaks and stuff like that. And within a couple of months, I was over at the Manassas Market. I was full-time at both markets, and I had hired 3 girls to work with me as my team. So,
very cool. Yeah. That's awesome.
Was not expected for sure, but it was so much fun, and it still is.
Yeah. So let's go back a little bit before that even. What made you want to start this business? Where did it all come from?
I tell people even the Cliff Notes version is long sometimes, but the reason I wanted to start the business was because my friends pretty much pushed me into it. I didn't really start the business to be a business, if that makes sense. I didn't I don't want to send my kid to college, or I wasn't trying to pay the mortgage. I was just trying to get the elderberry syrup that I was making to the public legally, if that makes sense.
Right.
In Virginia and across the United States, there's a lot of different food laws that you have to follow, and you can't just make something out of your home and sell it to people. You have to have licenses and inspections and all of these things. So when I had a lot of friends and friends of friends who were asking me for my elderberry syrup, my husband and I were kind of like, we need to be doing this in a way that is legal, right? Because my past of working at the Bureau, I like to follow the law. Yes. I like to do things the right way. And it gave me the opportunity to be able to share it, with everyone. So
yeah, very cool. So you started with a product that you were making for your family, and then
yes.
It just went really well with family stuff, and so you're like, let's turn this into something?
Yeah, so for those who don't know the story behind Erin's Elderberries, my son Lucas was 1, and we were in Florida for his 1-year birthday party. Anyone that's ever had a child, the 1-year mark, as you know, is a big deal.
Yeah, we just hit it.
And, Lucas is our little rainbow baby. He's our miracle baby. Okay. We tried so very hard to have him. And when he was finally here, we were just so happy and so grateful. And he's the light of our life, and still is as our only child. But when he was 1 and we were visiting Florida, he got very, very sick. We took him to the emergency room per our pediatrician up here. And they ran some blood work, and before we knew it, we were in the hospital. And after that, we were actually being transferred to a childhood cancer hospital in Florida.
Goodness.
Because his blood work was coming back significant to showing leukemia. And it was like 3 o'clock in the morning when we arrived at this hospital. The oncologist actually met us there because he said with Lucas turning 1, at that time, I don't know if it's the same now because that was 5 years ago, but at that time when you were about to turn 1, the treatment changed for leukemia patients, for children. So he said we very much want the under 1-year treatment, not the over 1-year treatment. There's a higher success rate. It's less hard on their body. And so we had about 8 hours to basically find out if our child had leukemia or not. So we were signing papers away. We were still pretty much in shock. Long story short, he did not have leukemia, praise the Lord, but he had just a really, really nasty virus that can actually mimic leukemia in the blood.
That's crazy.
So, we went in with a 99.9% chance that it was leukemia, and we came out with our son completely healthy, which is amazing. But after that experience, he just kept getting sick. He would get colds very easily. If someone was around him that coughed, he was sick 24 hours later and stuff like that. And I couldn't keep him well, to the point where that fall when we went to his pediatrician for his first flu shot, his pediatrician wasn't comfortable giving that to him. He said his immune system is kind of wrecked. I'm not okay putting this in his body. Any other child, that's totally healthy, we would want to, but I just think we need to be cautious and not do that right now. So as a first-time mom, I was like, my baby's already been so sick, and now you're telling me I can't protect him from the flu. Like, what do I do? At the same time, we were actually seeing an allergy specialist as well. Lucas was on 2 inhalers and 2 liquid medicines for allergies. And he wasn't even 2 years old yet. And most of these medicines are prescribed for kids 6 and older, yet they're giving it to a 1.5-year-old. So I was kind of at my breaking point, with all of it. And once the whole flu thing happened and I asked his allergist, I said, what can I do to make him stronger? Like, how can I help his lungs? Like, how can I help my child? I'm a stay-at-home mom. My job is this tiny thing right here. And, he looked at me and he's like, there's nothing you can do. You just have to sit and wait. And I'm not a wait and see person.
Yeah.
And you don't tell me I can't do something. Like, I'm just not, you tell me I can't do something and I'm like, watch me. Like, I will, go to the end of the earth, which is what I did. I started researching and reading, and everything that I was coming back to as far as like cold and flu prevention and treatment always came back to elderberry.
Oh, wow.
Everything I read about allergies always came back to local honey. And while there weren't studies on honey like there was for elderberries, there was just a lot of information out there, and I, tend to be able to weed out, the misinformation from correct information based on my training. So I decided to start making him, his own elderberry syrup, because the stuff in the stores is just crammed full of junk. And I didn't want that for him. I'm like, you're already getting enough junk. I want something really healthy for you. So I started making it. He hated the taste.
Oh no.
He would like run away. And even I would try to be like, oh, this is not good. And I would buy a bottle of Sambucol or whatever from the store. And I'm just like, this is like awful tasting. It just doesn't taste good. So I went on a mission to make a syrup that my child would love, that he would ask for. And after a week of the recipe I have now that I still use, he started calling it his yummy syrup. So on my product bottle, on the actual elderberry syrup bottle, you will see it say elderberry yummy syrup, because that's, he's 6 now and that's what he still calls it. So,
nice.
Yeah. So that's how it started, was just wanting to make my child healthier and to not feel so stuck anymore and helpless.
Right.
I didn't like feeling helpless, and I was done with it. So I kind of went on my own personal crusade for my child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And it sounds like we were talking right before this, you kind of did the same thing with was it your father or your father-in-law?
Yes, my
And
dad,
so,
yeah.
So as a registered holistic nurse, is that the right way to put it?
Registered holistic nutrition and health coach.
Nutrition and health coach,
yes.
okay.
So it's a certification. It's not a degree or anything like that, but it's an organized form of learning all of this information about the human body and about vitamins and minerals and how our body uses them. And before I even started this business, or even thought about starting this business, my dad was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and it was very hard for him. He's probably not going to like me sharing that when he watches this. But, he's a very strong man. He was in the FBI for, decades. He was always taking care of other people, and it was very hard for him to admit that he needed to stop and take care of himself. And so he went through all of those different stages of, he was mad about it, he was sad about it, and then he got around to, okay, it's my health, it's my family, I want to be around for my family, like what can I do? And I told him, I said, I will help you figure this out. Like, you may be in Alabama and I'm up here in Virginia, but I will help. You're my dad, right? We do what we can for our families. And so I just went into basically a deep dive of everything I could learn about diabetes in general, and how you get your A1C down, how you do all these different things, because he does have a couple of things to where he can't take some medicines. So the main medicine that's given to those with type 2 diabetes, he can't take it because of his liver. So he really, really needed an approach to be healthy that didn't involve medicine. So we needed diet, lifestyle, all of those different things.
Wow.
And, within the 3 months before he got his A1C retested, he was back in pre-ranges. He was normal. He didn't need medicine. He wasn't in the heart attack, range like he was before. And for the last 3.5, almost 4 years now, he's completely kept it under control without, medicine. So it's been fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's been great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's 2 stories where you really jumped into something and just made it work. And you were told it was impossible, like you said, and you're like, let's see about that.
His doctor was not very keen on him leaving that day without taking, agreeing to take medicine and stuff. But my dad is also very, I don't want to say a typical man. I don't want to get in trouble, but he doesn't take Tylenol. He doesn't, he will just lay on the couch and suffer before he, takes any medicine of any kind. So I wasn't surprised that he had refused, to take anything. But it ended up working out really well, because instead of just relying on a medication, he really worked to change his lifestyle and his eating. And for a German man who's used to meat and potatoes and 4 rolls with dinner, it's been fun to watch, how he's taken this new approach on his lifestyle and his eating.
That's great. Yeah. So kind of getting back to the business and products and stuff like that. So as you started developing and you officially wanted to start your business and get things marketed, what were kind of those big steps you had to take with, testing products, making new products, getting them to the people? There's a lot involved with that.
There's so much involved.
What were kind of those steps that you had to conquer along the way?
Well, the first biggest steps were, learning or figuring out how to get my business license and my zoning permit from Fauquier County. Before Lucas was born, I had a traditional job. I wasn't self-employed per se.
Right.
So I didn't know about, you have to have a zoning permit before you can get a business license if you're working out of the home. So I was just learning about all of that. And then to sell a food, I didn't want to just be at the farmer's market. I wanted to have a website, and I wanted to be able to ship my products, and I wanted to potentially put them in a store one day. And I didn't realize that there are two totally different categories of people who can sell food in the state of Virginia. If you want to sell at a farmer's market, we have, what's called the exemption law. A lot of people know it as the cottage law, so they can sell cookies and jams and jellies, canned foods, and things like that. But if it's going to be on a website or shipped across state lines or anything like that, or in retail stores, you have to actually be inspected by our Department of Agriculture.
Oh, wow.
So I was learning about all of that, looking at the applications. I think I quit like 5 times.
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
I'm like, I don't know how to do this. I can't do this. I don't know what this means. And, every time I would kind of just shove it to the side for a few days, kind of have a little pity party for myself. And then I would pick myself back up and start again, right? And then when I got to another hurdle, because you always have to email someone asking a question and then wait and wait and wait. And if your email doesn't get responded to, then you email again. So sometimes you feel like you're in a holding pattern when you don't understand or know something as far as business law goes, because you have to find out, you're at the mercy of those who know, right?
Yeah.
So you have to wait to find out that information. So that was honestly the biggest hurdle for me, was just understanding what it took legally to run a food business in the state of Virginia. Once I got that down, I was good. I'll be honest, social media, I had to learn and things like that, but I run a Facebook group for moms.
Okay.
And I had already been doing that, so that's how a lot of women already knew about me, just because it's a safe place for moms to learn about health and kids and whatever. So they're actually the ones that kind of pushed me into being a business, because they're how... I guess that's how my syrup was found, right? Is because I shared this health tip. Yeah, no, it really was. I shared this health tip. I said, it was a post one night, I think at like 10 o'clock at night. And I was like, hey, it's, becoming fall. This is our second year of us doing this with Lucas. This is the success that we've had. This is why I do it. Here are links to research articles on elderberry itself and, how you can use it, because I'm very much a proponent of don't believe someone or take someone for their word. Go research it yourself.
Right.
So I love to teach my group how to do that research and kind of weed through what's correct and what isn't. So yeah, when I started putting that up, if people wanted to come try it, they'd swing by the stoop and grab a little like sample bottle that I had out there. And before you knew it, I was waking up to
orders,
to texts and messages from people I didn't know. And then my husband was like, okay, let's figure this out. So the social media aspect, I kind of understood. And once I started my business, people already knew about me. So they were very excited because I was like, okay, now I'm an actual business. Now I feel comfortable you coming in, and getting this from me. So for me, it was just that, how do I actually start it? Like, how do I get it going and in the correct way?
Yeah. And I think a lot of people can have these really cool ideas like you had with your syrup and everything, but then they want to move forward with things and then they quit because they run into these same issues, so you kind of have to power through them. I have a commercial cleaning service and then this podcast, but even those simpler businesses, it's just you hit these legal roadblocks and these tax things you got to figure out. And you don't learn these things in school very often, if at all. You just got to figure it out on your own or have a coach or something like that to walk you through it.
Yeah,
because it's overwhelming.
No, it is very much so. Even something for you, I'm sure, like insurance. What kind of insurance do I need to have? What level of insurance do I need to have? And things like that. Yeah, it's for someone who didn't grow up or go to school for that kind of a thing. It takes a lot of learning.
It does.
And a lot of understanding.
Yeah. So, but then you can get to the fun stuff of growing your business and the fun parts of it.
Yes. The funny thing about growing my business is, if you look back on pictures from like my very first few farmers markets, I had my elderberry syrup and I had my honey, because one of the markets requested that I sell that as well, because their honey vendor was sick and wasn't able to be there that season. So they're like, can you please also do this?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, sure. I never planned on it, but sure. If you're going to let me into your market, I am happy to do, whatever you want me to. So I look at my table pictures from back then. And it's just these two little jars of, 2 different things. And now I have over 20 things that I make all by hand. But what most people don't know about my products is that every single one, and I'm looking away because I'm looking at all of them, every single one of them is put into the shop by intention. So the elderberry jelly, actually came about because I never set out to make a bazillion jellies all of the time. I never thought I would be doing that, but I had so many older gentlemen at both the Manassas and the Warrenton markets see Erin's Elderberries, and they would walk over and they'd be like, "Do you have any elderberry jelly?" as they're looking at my stand. And I'm like, "No, I don't. I'm sorry." And in my head, I'm like, "I am not making jelly." Like, I grew up with my aunts making jellies. It's a lot of work.
Yes.
And I was like, "No, I don't. Sorry." But I had enough of them come to me, and then they started telling me why they were looking for it. That they were looking for it because their mothers or their grandmothers made it. And anytime they ever saw elderberry anything, they were reminded of the jelly that their mom or their grandmother would make. And, these men that were telling me this were, walking in on canes, and they're probably in their 70s or early 80s and things like that. So I think back to, like, my grandparents and being on the farm and stuff, and it made me want to give them a piece of their tradition back. So, and some of them had even told me that they had found some, but it didn't taste good. They're like, "It's just not very good. It doesn't remind me of home," and things like that. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to make this jelly for these guys. What could hurt? And as you saw out there,
lots of it now.
That's about a fourth of what we have already done before you got here, and we have about 5 more rounds. So we go through about 1,000 jars of jelly a month.
Wow.
And I just added it just because I wanted these guys to remember their family and have
listening and caring about your customers.
The Aronia syrup, same thing. I had a private nutrition client that had chronic sinusitis and bronchitis to where she was put on prescription pain meds, and she was in her late 60s, and she's like, "I can't drive, I can't do anything when I'm taking this medicine, can you please help me?" And I was like, "If you're wanting to be a test bunny for a bunch of different things we can try, let's try." And Aronia is what I landed on for the research I did for her, and now it's one of our best sellers as well.
Very cool. That's awesome. It's grown a lot then.
It has.
Cool. So what's kind of your goal now that you've seen how fast you're growing and everything? What's kind of your vision for the next couple of years with the business?
I have a couple of different goals. Okay. I'm sure even you, for a business owner, you have, okay, if I could have it all, this would be,
of course.
And then here's my middle goal, and then here's the goal I just want to make it to.
And then they all change as you're trying to pursue them anyway, so yeah.
Because some days I feel like I'm heading towards one, and then the other I'm like, okay, let's just go back to this one. It stresses me out less. But one of my main goals, and it's more of just a fun thing for me, is I would love to open up an actual retail store.
Okay.
I don't want it to be just Erin's Elderberries. I would love it to be a reflection of the type of Facebook group I run, where I teach people how to live a healthier life or make healthy edits, as I call it. Like, if you don't want to use plastic Tupperware in your home or something like that, I can show you how to use glass containers, take care of them to where they won't crack, and do all of these different things. How to basically just make healthier choices, but also make it easy for you to make healthy choices, because sometimes we want to do things healthier, but it's just not convenient.
It's never the easier choice, no.
So I want to teach people like how to, I don't want to say be lazy, but do it in an easy way and kind of get your feet wet and stuff like that. So I would obviously have all of my products in the shop, but it would also be more of a, kind of, like I said, healthy edits type of store. So that's my main goal I'm focused on right now, is finding the right space that I can afford. Because rent is really expensive. I would like it to be in Warrenton, because Warrenton's our home, and I love Warrenton so much, and Warrenton is what has made my business. So I would very much like it to be there. My second kind of up here goal is I would really love to be in larger retail stores.
Okay.
I started out working with a lot of small farm stores, which I love. It's been amazing, and I love the relationships I've crafted, and we bring each other's customers to each other, right? And I love that. But sometimes I get a lot of calls, or not sometimes, I do. I get a lot of calls like at 7 o'clock at night or 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And it's more of an ease of access. I would love to get into Whole Foods or Trader Joe's, or just some type of retailer that is open a little bit later in the evening for those who need or feel like they need to get it sooner.
Yeah. And those are going to be more of those hoops to jump through and things to learn.
Oh, yes. Oh, it's very much, very much a learning process for sure. There's, ways that you have to go about doing it. It's not necessarily so much about networking as it is following the protocol.
Right.
Around here, you can go in and talk to a small business owner and see if they have any interest in carrying your products, or tell them the statistics of how often you ship to their area. And, look, we can help each other out. I can give my customers immediate same-day access where they don't have to wait or pay shipping, and you get it at wholesale prices, kind of a thing. So that's what I love doing that, because I love crafting those relationships. But at the same time, I would love what I call like more after hours, type of access for my customers, other than what's here. I keep an honor box on my stoop. I'm sure you saw it when you walked in.
Yes, I did.
That's there 24/7. Anyone can come up at any time and drop money or scan the Venmo code and walk away. But it's only my syrup. It's not, anything else.
Okay.
So that's, it's two very lofty goals, dreams, but that's what I would love for.
And what I love about it is that sometimes you can get so excited about growth and, hey, we're selling tons of stuff, and you're like, let's just get bigger and bigger because it's exciting and stuff. But for you, it's like, I want to get into these bigger stores, not so that I can sell all over the country and whatever. It's because my customers have shown me that's their need to have things at these times, and so you're reaching into it. Or I wasn't going to do the jam, but there was a need and I kept seeing it, so I'm doing it. Or I want a store, but not so that I can sell more, but it's because I can fill that much more of a need with educating people and having the access. So I think that's really neat. So.
And I love that you actually recognize that. Because usually I'm the one explaining that I'm not into this business to make money or, anything like that. It's, for my community and for those that, need help. And, when someone can recognize that based upon like what I say, how my goals are, that makes my day right there. So thank you.
And there's nothing wrong with having a huge business either, because if you're making millions and millions, then you can give back that much more and everything like that.
That would be nice.
Not that we're at that point yet, but
and that's a hurdle of business as well too.
Sure.
Of where I'm at right now is how big do I want to try to get? Because I can reach for the stars, or I can stay here and help my community, because I have met with manufacturers or co-packers and things like that, because it's pretty much every single day we have our production schedule, and Rebecca or Jen is in here helping me bottle, do everything. I make everything by hand, but they help me label and, heat seal and all of these required things, that we have to do. But I thought about, well, if I had everything like manufactured, it'd just be easy. But the whole point is that it's healthy and it's homemade and it's small batch. These bucket or pots that you see up there, that's how big of batches is made with each one. So it's not like I've got this huge vat of elderberries and I'm stirring it with like a canoe paddle or something. And I don't want it to come to that. I don't want it to get larger than what I can't make by hand, I guess. So I'm kind of straddling that line of, I want to get bigger, but not to where we have to go. Not at the
expense of what your cause is.
Exactly. Because when I educate my customers about what makes this syrup healthy, about it being heated, at low heat, so you're basically not cooking it to death. Like when you cook your vegetables or something, they're all limpy, and they basically say there's no nutrient value left in that. Same thing with these. I cook it very low and very slow for a long period of time to keep that health factor. And I don't want to start making an inferior product just so I can make more of it. It's not what it's about. Yeah.
And you've mentioned a couple times the Facebook group that you are an admin for, whatever. What is the name of that group? Do you mind sharing?
It's called Raising Tiny Healthy Humans.
Okay.
And it actually started, my logo with the little boy that says Erin's Elderberries. That was actually the logo for Raising Tiny Healthy Humans. Oh. So that's what a friend of mine created, because the little boy is Lucas when he was a toddler and holding his healthy carrots, because that was the only vegetable the child would eat, kind of still to this day. And when I became a business and everyone from that Facebook group knew I was becoming a business, I wanted to make sure they could find me. That when they saw elderberry syrup or they saw someone at the farmer's market, they're like, oh, I know that. I know that look. I know that little boy, on the logo. But I started that Facebook group almost 6 years ago. Lucas was a toddler, or a baby, actually. He wasn't even a toddler yet. And one of my friends in MOPS, the Mothers of Preschoolers group, she actually came to me and she said, you know what, you're really sociable and you like to help people. Like, why don't you start a local Facebook group for moms where we all feel safe? It's not, from one end of the spectrum to another where everyone is just bickering all the time and, things like that. It's a very safe place. If you want to tell us that morning you had to give your kid a Snickers for lunch and you had one too just to survive the day, okay, we'll do better tomorrow, and we're here for you. Do you need us to bring you dinner? Kind of a thing. It's just a safe spot for all moms, and we talk about anything and everything. Nothing is really off limits, unless someone wants to get rude.
Right,
I'm trying to think of how should I put that, which we've never actually had a problem with. I've never actually had to delete anyone or send anyone out. Everyone is very respectful of everyone else, and
culture is well established.
It very much is. It's a great community, and we have a little over 1,200 members now, I think. But they're also, some are from, our moms here, they leave, they move, and then they make other friends, and then they invite them to that group. So we have, women from all over the country now in it.
That's great.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I don't get to devote as much time as I used to, which I tell myself all the time, like, I want to get back and be posting and doing more and stuff like that. But sometimes it's hard to, get that daily posting in or, information out that you want to. But I'm working on it and trying to actually find some help for people to help me, post and share and stuff like that. Yeah, because I owe everything to that group. Because it's the reason. It's the reason I started. This business. It's how I became a business. I mean, the Warrenton Farmers Market is what propelled my business, I guess you could say. But the Raising Tiny Healthy Humans group is the whole reason this exists now. And I owe those ladies so much thanks. They're amazing.
Yeah, cool. And hopefully they're all watching this now.
Hopefully, yeah. Well, I'll post the link when it goes up.
Yeah. And if you guys are looking for that kind of a group, definitely check it out and gain that value. So as a final question for you before we close, do you have any advice for people who are kind of where you were a couple of years ago, either wanting to start a business or in the grind of trying to figure it out and wanting to quit and crying at home because they can't figure it out, like just those steps, or super excited and just not sure what to do next? Would you be able to give any advice to those people?
Yeah, I mean, whenever I'm asked that question, the thing I always say is, number one, know that you're not alone, because someone's always probably crying at the same time you are over probably around the same type of thing you are. And number two is just don't give up. If I had given up all of those times, I had shoved those applications, to the side, I wouldn't be here. And I wouldn't get to have the community that I do now with Erin's Elderberries. And I wouldn't have, the friends and the business friends even within the community that I know now because of that. And I just say, just don't give up. Find a mentor. I'll be honest, it's hard sometimes to find a mentor, especially if you aren't in the business arena to begin with.
Right.
I didn't have a mentor when I started, and if I had had one, I kind of talked to you about some things before we started filming about, what a later mentor taught me. But I wish I would have had one kind of from the start. So that's why I have been mentoring small food businesses, is because I'm trying to be that person that I wish I had when I started. Because if I had someone like that, it wouldn't have been months and months. It would have been a month or 2 months, basically. So, I tell them, look for a mentor or just anyone, in a Facebook group or, people are always willing to help. They just have to know you need it. So you can ask in a local Facebook group, community group, or something like that, if anyone's willing to help you. Or if it's about small food businesses, you can reach out to me, because I've done 36 mentees so far in the last 2 years. 10 of them have been outside of Virginia, so I have learned a lot about food laws in other states, which I like doing. I like the research and learning. But I really enjoy helping, and like I said, being that person that I wish that I had.
Sure.
So so just don't give up and keep trucking, and know that you're not alone in your frustrations, because everyone's been there. And no matter how long you're going to run your business, those frustrations are still going to be there. It's just a matter of the difference. It's going to be a different type of frustration at that point.
Sure. That's awesome. So thank you so much for your time with sharing your story a little bit and about your products. how can people follow you on social media or get your products?
So my social media on Facebook is Erin's Elderberries, and same thing on Instagram. It's at Erin's Elderberries. I have a website, www.erinselderberries.com. I'm trying to make it
This is all simple so far.
Easy. I know, right? I'm trying to make it very easy. You can order online through the website.
Okay.
You can order for shipping. I do flat rate $5 shipping throughout the entire U.S. I also ship worldwide, so if someone needs something overseas, they can contact me for shipping because I basically charge what it costs to ship it. And then you can also order on my website for pickup, which is right here at my home. You basically order, the website will give you a preferred, like basically the soonest I can have it available, because I do leave my house. I do, go get groceries and go get my son from school. So I have it set at like a 5-hour window. So it gives me time to get home, to get your order out and prepared and stuff like that. But you can pick it up the same day, from my stoop. So you don't have to pay the shipping. On my website too, there's a list of local retailers. So places like Snake Oak Farm in Remington and Cupcake Heaven in Haymarket and Great Harvest in Warrenton on Main Street. I have a bunch of local places that carry it as well. So you can walk in and, get a bottle if you don't want to pay the shipping fee.
Okay.
Or come visit us at the market on Saturdays.
Yeah.
Lots of places to find us.
Yeah, very available. That's awesome. So thank you so much again.
Thank you for having me. I want to say this too is the very first time I've done anything like this in this kitchen.
Oh, really?
So we've done it, and it's actually the 1-year anniversary of this kitchen.
Hey.
Which I forgot to tell you about when you came. Thank you. My dad and my husband helped build it.
Yeah, it's very cool.
When we were on COVID lockdown, we're like, what can we do? Let's build a kitchen. But we've done like photos and stuff like that in here, but we've never actually had someone in here filming. So I'm loving it as for like a 1-year celebration.
Yeah, it's very neat. It's very nice, and right here in your home and everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the commute is wonderful.
Yeah.
Very easy.
Kind of rough to get yourself out of bed, though. I'm sure sometimes. Still.
Honestly, it's a lot easier because I know, like, I can just come straight down here and start working. I don't have to, wait on my coffee and then sit in traffic, and it's actually easier. I feel, for me.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of The Heart of Fauquier. If you loved joining us today, give this podcast a great review and subscribe to keep up with new episodes. If you have an office in Fauquier that needs a cleaning service, reach out to Bedrosian Cleaning Services and see how they can serve you. Until next time, thanks for listening.